In question 1, we're asked to find the ratio of chairs to tables. So we'll write down the number of chairs we've got, 45, and the number of tables we've got. And what this is telling me that for every 45 chairs, I'll have 9 tables, or the ratio is 45 to 9. So in its simplest form, that is the ratio. But we can cancel this down to make it even simpler, and ask ourselves what number will divide into 45 and into 9. Now, if we're not too sure, we can use our calculator. So on my calculator here, I'll add in 45 and I'll divide it by 9. And I'll press execute to get the answer, and the answer is 5. So now I know that 9 will go into 45. I can divide 45 by 9. I'll get 5 times, and divide 9 by 9, I'll get 1. So my final ratio is 5 to 1. 5 chairs for every single table. 5 chairs for every single table. In question 2, there are 24 children in a class, and 8 of them are boys. And you're asked to work out the ratio of boys to girls. Now note, it's boys to girls, not boys to the whole class. So the first thing we need to do is to work out how many girls are in the class. So let's write down our 24, take away the 8 boys, and we're left with 16 girls. Now the ratio is going to be boys to girls. So we'll write down the boys first, 8, and girls 16. So that in our simplified form is the ratio of boys to girls. But again, I think we can cancel this down. You might be able to see that 8 will divide into 8 to give me 1, and 8 will divide into 16 to give me 2. So my simplified, really simplified ratio is 1 to 2. And that's our final answer. For every 1 boy in the class, there are 2 girls. In question 5, we have 2 groups of people. We've got people with red umbrellas and people with any colour other than red. And the ratio of the red umbrellas to the any other colour is 1 to 5. Now we're asked to work out how many coloured umbrellas there might be if there are 4 red umbrellas. So let's think about what this means. If I had 1 umbrella that was red, I would then have 5 times as many not red. If I had 2 red, I would have a 5 plus a 5 not red. So I've multiplied by 5 each time, multiplied by 5 here, multiplied by 5 here. So if I've got 4 red umbrellas, I'm going to multiply by 5, I'll get 20 not red umbrellas. So there's my final answer, 20 not red umbrellas. Question 12. On a farm, the ratio of cows to sheep to pigs is 3 to 4 to 5. Now if there are 35 pigs, how many sheep are there and how many cows are there? So let's look at this again. We've got a ratio of 3 to 4 to 5. That's cows to sheep to pigs. Now it tells us that there are 35 pigs. Now how do you get from 5 to 35? Well, you multiply by something. The something, of course, is 7. Now if we're going to keep everything in the same ratio, then these numbers also have to be multiplied by 7. 7 fours is 28, and of course 7 threes is 21. So the answer is there's 21 cows, 28 sheep, and 35 pigs. Question 14. Find the ratio of the coloured area on the diagram with the uncoloured area. Now this is a nice little question because it mixes up some foreknowledge on area and shapes with ratios. Well, straight away we can see this is a 3 by 3 matrix. It's 3 units this way and 3 units this way. So altogether there are 3 by 3, there are 9 squares. We can see that there's 1, 2, 3 pink squares. We want the coloured to the uncoloured, so it's going to be 3 for the coloured, and the uncoloured is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 3 to 6 is the ratio of coloured to uncoloured. But we should be able to simplify this. If we divide both sides by 3, we'll get 3 into 3 goes once, and 3 into 6 goes twice. So the actual result is 1 to 2, coloured to non-coloured. We have the same problem with 14 part B. Maybe not quite as straightforward, so you have to think about this a little bit more. We have a triangle drawn inside a square. The square is made up of 4 separate smaller squares. We need to work out the area of the coloured triangle as a ratio with the remaining part of the big square. Now let's redraw the 4 small squares that make up the big square over here on the left hand side. And let's imagine pulling 2 of those squares out on their own. Now we can imagine those 2 squares being combined together to give us one rectangle equal to 2 squares. Now I wonder if you recall that if you were to draw a diagonal across that rectangle, you would split it into 2 triangles, and the 2 triangles would be of equal area. The 2 triangles would in fact be 2 halves of the same rectangle. So this would be triangle 1 and this would be triangle 2. So the 2 triangles would equal 2 squares in terms of their area. So one triangle would be equivalent to 1 square. This gives us a clue as to what our answer will be. If we take out 1 square for the triangle, 3 will be left. So our ratio of the coloured area, the triangle, to the non-coloured area will be 1, 2, 3. Given that 1 plus 3 gives us the 4 squares. And there's our final answer, 1 to 3. We're now moving on to exercise 1E on page 212, where we use ratios to help us with the sharing out of something. Question 7. The angles in a triangle are in the ratio 3 to 1 to 2, and we've got to find the size of all the angles. Well, the first thing we've got to remember is that the angles in a triangle sum up to 180 degrees. So here's a very simple triangle. I've labelled all the angles A, B and C, and I'm going to assume that A is the 3 in terms of the ratio, B is the 1 and C is the 2. Now remember, A plus B plus C equals 180 degrees. Our first step is to add up the numbers that make up the ratios. That's the 3 plus the 1 plus the 2. And that gives us a total of 6. The next step is to divide that 6 into the 180 to find how many shares, how many rounds of sharing we're going to have. And the answer, as you can see, is 30 rounds. Now I'm going to take that number and multiply it by each of the ratio numbers to work out the size of the angles for A, B and C. So for A, we're going to get 30 shares times 3, which will give us 90 degrees. For B, we're going to get 30 shares of 1, which will give us 30 degrees. And for C, we're going to get 30 shares of 2, which will give us 60 degrees. Now if we add all these up together, we should still get 180 to be sure we got the right answer. And indeed we have. So these look like the correct answers. A is 90, B is 30 and C is 60. In question 8 we're dealing with a quadrilateral, and the angles of the quadrilateral are in the ratio of 2 to 2 to 3 to 2. We've got to find the largest angle the largest angle in the quadrilateral. Once again, for completeness, I've labelled the angles A, B, C and D. I'm going to assume that the ratios go A, B, C, D, 2, 2, 3, 2. A keen fact that you should know at this point is that the total angles in a quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. Now we're going to use all of these facts to help us solve the problem. Step 1, we need to add up the ratio numbers. Step 2, we take the 360 and we divide it by the 9. So that means we're going to have 40 shares, 40 rounds of dishing out the angles. So for A, we're going to get 40 times 2, B 40 times 2, C 40 times 3, and D 40 times 2. Now I'm not going to work all these out because the biggest one clearly is this one here, and 3 times 40 is 120 degrees, and that's the size of the largest angle. Question 10. Mrs. Turner gives Sam and Robin £360 in the ratio of 1 to 3. Mr. Harris gives Alana, Bill and Julie £320 in the ratio of 2 to 1 to 5. A digital camera costs £197.50. Now Sam and Alana want to put their money together to buy the camera. They don't have enough money, so Robin gives them the rest of the money for the camera. And what we've got to find out is how much money does Robin actually give them. So let's put Sam and Robin over here. There's Sam and Robin, and there's their £360 shared out in the ratio of 1 to 3. Now let's put over here Alana, Bill and Julie. And there we have Alana, Bill and Julie. Now let's work out what each of them is going to be able to get as part of their share of the cash being made available. We'll start with Sam and Robin. 1 plus 3 equals 4. So we'll take the £360 that's available to them and we'll divide it into 4 parts, and we'll end up at £90 for each part. So Sam will get 90 times 1, £90, and Robin will get 90 times 3, £270. Now let's do the same for Alana, Bill and Julie. 2 plus 1 plus 5 equals 8. 8 parts. We'll take £320 and we'll divide it 8 ways, and that should give us £40. So Alana will get 40 times 2 equals £80. Bill will get 40 times 1, £40. And Julie will get 40 times 5, £200. Now again, normally we'd add all these up to see that we get back to the original sum. So 80 plus 40 plus 200 should give me 320, which it does. And 90 plus 270 should give me 360, which it does. Now we're going to combine Alana's money and Sam's money to buy the camera. So we've got £90 from Sam, we've got £80 from Alana. So let's put them together. 90 plus 80 equals £170, which is not enough to buy the camera, which is £197.50. The difference between £197.50 and £170 is £27.50. So that's how much Robin has to contribute, and that's our final answer. Question 14. We have 2 squares, a small pink one and a slightly larger blue one. And for part A, we've got to write down the ratio of the lengths of their sides. And for part B, work out the ratio of their areas. So let's begin then with part A. The perimeter for the pink square is equal to 20 centimeters. But because it's a square, it's got 4 equal sides. So So each side is going to have a length of 20 divided by 4, which will give me 5 centimeters. So for part A, the ratio of the sides of the pink square to the blue square is 5 centimeters to 7 centimeters, or 5 to 7. Both of these happen to be prime numbers, so we can't cancel this down any further. Now let's have a look at part B. We need the area of the pink square first, so we're going to call that AP, and its area is going to be 5 times 5, since the side is of length 5, to give me 25 centimeters squared. And for the blue square, AB, we're going to get 7 times 7 for the area, which is going to be 49 centimeters squared. So the ratio looks like it's 25 to 49. So the question is, can we simplify this by cancelling down? Well, the answer is no, and we can double check that by using our calculator. Let's put 25 into the calculator and divide it by 49, and we'll get the answer 0.5102, etc. If we convert that to a fraction, s to d, we'll get 25 over 49. And it's basically the simplest we can make it. We can't cancel down any further. That fraction can also be interpreted as a ratio 25 to 49. So this really is our final answer, 25 to 49.